Welcome back to Inside Franklin Athletics. Today with me, I'm my coach, Drew Byerly.
Thanks for having me back.
And our favorite O-line coach, Sean Little.
Appreciate you guys having me.
Absolutely. So today, I want to talk to you about football, among other things. But what do you think is the biggest difference from this year to last year?
It all starts up front, and I really think that having the line that we do this year on offense, our offensive numbers have been astronomical this year in the grand scheme of things, and we're the second-ranked 5A offense in the state, top 10 offense in the state for all teams. So I really think it starts up front, giving Drew time to actually do stuff back there, giving Jalen holes, giving Drew holes when he's running it. And their off-season work that those guys put in this year was huge. We didn't have any issues of getting those guys in the weight room since the end of last football season. And it showed. This is the biggest, on average, offensive line that Franklin's had in at least a decade, probably more. We averaged 240, 250 up front on any given night, and so that's a big deal when over the last probably 8 years, our offensive line has only averaged maybe like 195.
Wow.
Yeah, so we made a significant, even last year's O-line, I love those guys to death, but last year's O-line, we averaged about 210 on the offensive line, and this year we're averaging 245-ish or whatever. So just having that extra size paired with their strength and athletic ability is huge.
How does that translate to you, Drew, being the behind it all and seeing it all unfold every play?
It's you can definitely tell there's a difference. Obviously, we have 2 1,000-yard rushers. I mean, obviously the offensive line is doing pretty good. So
do you feel like you have more time to throw too?
I mean, yeah, but it's like, yes, we'll just say yes. That's the best answer. So my question to you. Could you tell in the offseason that we were going to have a bigger O-line, or was it just kind of like one of those things where it happened in season where it was just like, oh, yeah, we have a pretty big and really good offensive line?
Actually, I could go back in my Google Drive and look up some stuff, and, even starting last November, trying to get down a early depth chart and kind of what their weights were at that time, and then knowing that, no matter what, our starting 5 are going to be bigger and stronger. And the exciting thing is that, 3 out of 5 of them are going to be returning next year. And we had some returning starters from last year that just continued to work and get bigger and did the right things. So I kind of knew going into this season that we were going to have a much more improved, third year in the system, much more educated offensive line than we've had over the last couple of years.
Absolutely, and I can see the difference. I mean, you're absolutely right. It does start up front. Same with the defense. If you think about from last year, this year, the 2 sacks we had last year from right versus I think 24 this year. I mean, it just makes an astronomical difference. It makes the guys behind you play so much better, and it just makes it easier on everybody, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah. You're talking about sacks, just off the top of my head, last season, the offensive line gave up 10 sacks. This season so far, there's only been 4 sacks on Drew.
And one I called the wrong protection.
But when you think about that, last season we were averaging at least 1 sack a game.
Yeah.
This season we're averaging far less. And that goes on the offensive line as well, but it also goes on Drew because he's doing some pretty miraculous throws and getting the ball out and being able to run around a little bit to kind of save that stat line for the guys up front.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think more of that is just kind of natural progression of getting bigger guys, or is it guys working harder per se in the weight room, or maybe with the right instruction, or do you think it's like learning the system?
I think it's a combination of all of them.
Okay.
I really do. I think in order to compete in the Mid-State Conference and in our sectional, we have to have an offensive line that's up in the 240s, 250s on average, and hopefully some 285, 290 pounders as well. But we also have to have an offensive line that understands what the heck they're doing and is able to really get into more complicated scheme when you start talking about more complicated defenses, especially as you go further in the tournament. The defenses get better, and so you got to be able to adjust to the scheme.
Yeah, that's one thing I can definitely tell the difference of too is, like you said, I love those guys from 2 or 3 years ago, but this year, the line, sometimes Doobie and the lineman will be making rip and Liz calls and knowing the 70 protections. So it's it makes it a lot easier on me not having to worry about that and worry about everything else. It's to where they know what to do as well as I do. So I mean, it makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, and it's the technique part of it too. I think is when you're an offensive lineman growing up in our old system, the triple option system. You know, as an offensive lineman, you don't really block D linemen. You're scooping and veering. You're getting up to linebacker level. We're reading D linemen. We're pitching the ball. We're giving the ball. We're doing things differently. So the technique that these kids learned in youth football and middle school, and you guys understand this too, you guys grew up in the same style, is different than what we're doing now. And so it just took a couple years for them to really start grasping the technique, and we're still not there. I mean, we still have a long way to go technique-wise and understanding-wise with that, but we have become leaps and bounds from 3 years ago, where I had to teach a pass set for the first time, and those guys looked at me like I was speaking another language.
Yeah. It seems like the chemistry among the O-line is just like pretty good this year. I mean, can you speak to that a little bit?
Well, I think that's what it's all about. You know, when Coach Call was hired on, I got to sit down and talk with him, and originally didn't quite know what position I was going to end up coaching, obviously.
Because you were receivers when you got here, right?
Yeah, I was receivers coach in the prior regime, and so I
pretty much O-lineman.
Yeah, I didn't really know what I was going to be coaching, but got to talk to him, and his philosophy on it. It all starts with the relationships. It all starts with the unit, and I think that's been one of the biggest changes and biggest improvements over my time here, is that the unit and the relationships between coaches and players, and then players amongst themselves, and the tightness and that bond is huge. I mean, Noah, you have a little bit of a unique perspective, because, well, you know, last couple of years you were an offensive player, and then this year we move you over to linebacker. Now you're on the defensive unit, and so you kind of get to see it from both angles, you know. But even as a offense and as a whole, I think that's an important bond. You know, the unit itself as O-linemen, receivers, you know, running backs, quarterbacks, like that needs to be an important bond. And then obviously the whole team dynamic. But that's a big deal, and I think that's one of the huge factors that's provided our success.
Yeah.
Is your favorite thing to see as an O-line coach like a pancake, or would you rather see like the quarterback, you know, stand dry?
I'm not big on the whole pancake block thing. I'm big on a well-executed play. And if it's a run play, I'm big on us providing some nice alleys for the running back or the quarterback to get through. I want to see a score. You know, and when it's a pass play, I want you to be able to sit back there, sit down in a chair, and eat a 3-course meal before you get touched. You know, and so that's what I take pride in as an O-line coach. You know, some people get all excited about pancakes or things like that, and those are awesome. Those are fun. I mean, it's good for the boys to be able to get a little aggressive and do that kind of stuff.
Of course.
But I'm bigger picture. Like,
I like that.
Yeah.
I take pride in the final score. I take pride in the execution. You know, if you walk into the end zone, it's a lot easier and happier for me than if you have to drag 10 guys. So,
Fair
and
enough.
you'll do either way.
Yeah, right. Like the Seymour run last week, I think you threw like 3 guys, but you ended up making like 8 guys piss when we went back and counted it.
Fair enough.
So, what's your favorite movie?
Favorite movie would have to be, it's probably a tie. Top Gun and Hunt for Red October.
Oh, my dad loves Hunt for Red October.
Yeah,
I've seen it like 10 times.
I grew up loving those movies, and in a military family, and then obviously I went to the Navy after I graduated, and so, you know, Navy movies all the way.
Yeah, fair enough. What about music? What kind of music you listen to? I know you always got. It seems like you always got one AirPod.
One headphone, Coach Little.
Yeah. Well, honestly, lately I haven't been listening to music when I have that. I've been listening to podcasts and different things
Crow's
like
Nest?
that.
Crow's Nest
Yeah, I'll
podcast?
listen to you guys every once in a while.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
of course.
Cool.
You know, obviously Pat McAfee's podcast.
Oh,
I always
I
get a
love
good
those.
laugh out of that. But I listen to all types of music. So I kind of grew up very eclectic when it came to that. You know, my dad was a country kind of rock guy, and my mom was more of like that soft rock Michael Bolton stuff. And so, you know, I'll listen to classical music. You know, I mean, whatever I'm in the mood for, I can pull it up.
Fair enough.
So.
All right. Any football guys got an opinion on this? College or NFL? Which do you like to watch? Which do you like to go to?
You know, that's tough. I really enjoy at home watching college games. Saturday it's just more exciting to me.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a huge Colts fan. Grew up as a Colts fan, and so, you know, I like the NFL. It's the peak of what we do. It's awesome to watch. But college, to me, is a little more exciting. Number one is they play, I think, harder. They have more they're playing for. There's kids on that team that will never play again after they're done in college. There's kids on that team that are going to go on and make millions of dollars. So it's very eclectic, very interesting dynamic to me. And, I think any lower level looks up to the next level, and me being a high school football coach, I like to look and see what the college football coaches are doing, and I'm sure the college football coaches like to look at the NFL coaches and see what they're doing, so I think that's the fun part about it.
Speaking of the Colts, Quentin Nelson, real deal,
Big Q, man. Yeah, I think by the end of his career he'll be labeled as one of the best linemen to ever play.
Yeah,
I see a lot of you and him and you and vice versa.
Resemblance of each other?
Yeah, I could just see you guys. You guys are like almost identical.
No.
You should work on it a little bit more.
I actually, if you just shaved down.
Yeah, I actually was lucky enough to be on the field at the Colts Denver game a few weeks back.
Oh, okay.
And I was down there while they were warming up, and no. That is a mountain of a man. Like, you think Game of Thrones, the mountain off of Game of Thrones, I think Quentin Nelson could pick him up and throw him.
Wow,
this dude's gigantic.
A lot of his stuff is I was watching a video on this, and they're talking about it on NBC. A lot of his stuff is not very. It's real unique. It's he learns balance from doing taekwondo and mixed martial arts and kind of stuff like that. And he learned a lot of how to be a good lineman by getting a good center of gravity and just not by real normal football ways of training, I guess.
Yeah, and it seems to be working out.
Yeah,
fair enough.
He's definitely changed the culture for the Colts, I believe. When they drafted him, it was just you could just tell there was a difference. When he's always I'll watch videos and he'll be the guy, the first guy over there to help pick up the running back.
That's cool.
Or, the first guy.
Cool. Absolutely, yeah.
Little stuff like that.
That draft class was huge for the Colts, and that's just going to build on that. And no matter how this season goes, they're going to continue to get better because you get Darius Leonard and Quentin Nelson out of the same draft class, you're gonna.
And then they got the Braden Smith. He started at tackle, and then Naheem Hines, you said, crazy draft class.
Yeah.
So are you? I don't mean to push forward ahead to next year, but whole new regime coming in. You're losing your 4-year starting quarterback. You're losing 27 seniors. Not saying I want this season in because that's the exact opposite I want. But are you in some ways ready for next year? Are you excited for it? Some of the challenges, you get to mold it a lot.
I think that's the tough position of a coach. You're always trying to be in the moment, and you're trying to focus on that week and that opponent and all that. But, as a coach, you tend to have to work ahead a little bit, even during the week, during a regular season week. By the Wednesday, I'm already scouting the next opponent because I've already done all my scout on that week's opponent.
That makes sense.
And so you got to stay organized. You got to really keep things straight in your head and actually keep your stuff organized. But, as from the offensive line perspective, we got numerous starters coming back again next year. Some of them
whole interior, right?
Yeah, some of them will be starting their third year of varsity football on the offensive line, which is a huge deal. We got 2 really good seniors up front that have played quite a few games for us over the last couple years that are going to be hard to replace. But one of the things that I pride myself in and I pride our unit in is that we got some depth. Finally, after years of not really having much depth. And so the next guys up will step in, and I think they'll be able to take right over there. As a team in general, I get emotional when I think about when you guys are done, because you guys were my last freshman class. When I was the freshman football coach.
You and Hankins.
You guys were my last freshman football class. And so, after that, there was other freshman football coaches, and I had moved up and done other things by that point. And so it was a interesting senior night in my head, just thinking about that a little bit. You guys are the last ones that I coached on Saturdays. So you guys are definitely going to be missed. But I think it's like that in any high school football program is it's turnover's part of it. And, the coaching staff has to do their job and building the depth in the future while they're coaching the current team. And I think you guys have seen that. Drew and our freshman quarterback have been sharing some reps, and I think that shows that, not only are we trying to continue to keep improving Drew and making sure he's doing the right stuff, but we also have some ideas of, let's keep getting this young kid reps with a bigger full-fledged line and let him really start to feel what it's like to have somebody like that in front of him.
Now, I know you do a lot of the technical video stuff for the team. How do you think that helps and provides an extra benefit, I guess I'd say, to preparing and to the team in general?
I'll add, begrudgingly, I do the tech stuff. Yeah. Somebody's got to do it, and I just tend to jump on stuff. But that stuff's super important. If we didn't have the film capabilities that we have, and a lot of teams don't. We're lucky in some aspects. Some teams don't have an end zone view. Some teams don't have 2 sideline views. They don't have huddle sideline replay during the game. And so we're very lucky when it comes to a lot of our technology.
How much does that help you coach in the moment?
Like what, the huddle sideline?
Yeah, we use it.
We use it every series for the offense. As soon as the offense comes off, we are at the bench, all of us. We got the skill players together, the O-lines together, and we can mix and match if we need to. And Cody, our offensive coordinator, is sitting right there. Me and him are looking at the iPad together. Coach Martin has another iPad, and we're going through it and try to get our message out and then get them ready for the next series. So I think it helps a lot. There's times it hasn't worked, and it's frustrating. You kind of got to go back to the older days where you're just dry board and marker out there, just thinking that's what I think they lined up in. With huddle sideline, I can pinpoint a play. I can see exactly what techniques they're in, and I can really fine tune the scheme.
What do you look for in opponents when you're scouting them on film?
I break down initially how many, what kind of defensive box is it, so how many guys are on the D line, what the linebackers, line like, and then I start to break down individual players. What are their tendencies? What does this DN like to do when he's trying to pass rush?
Okay.
Is he a high swimmer? Is he a dip and ripper, a bull rusher, stuff like that, just to give my guys tools on how to defeat him.
All right. Well, you heard it here first. He was our freshman coach, and it's pretty ironic because we were not a very good freshman team. We were like 1-8 or something. So
well, they also stole Drew from us about 3 weeks into the season. So.
Yeah, me and Sam went to quarterback really quick.
Yeah,
neither of us were really very good quarterbacks. He was better than me. I'll give him that. But well, thanks for joining us today.
I appreciate you guys having me on. You guys are doing a great thing with this. I like it.
Thank you. And as always, stay classy, Grizzly Cubs.
Swag.
I forgot that you and